From the 915 to H-Town, from the Panhandle Plains to the Valley, and everywhere in between, this is the 50/50 Podcast, powered by the 50/50 Podcast Network. Join me, Hector Cano, as we cover the Texas high school club and college soccer landscape, along with an inside look at the college soccer recruiting scene. The 50/50 Podcast is a platform about the people and for the people who are dedicated to the beautiful game. Here we go, and we are back live from Moody Gardens for the 2024 TASCO, Texas High School Soccer Coaches Convention, and I am joined by what should be a familiar face to many, right? I am joined by Stephen Mackey, the founder of Two Words, as well as the Texas Way. How you doing, bud?
I'm glad to be here, man. Doing really well. Yeah. Excited.
Absolutely.
To be down here in Galveston.
Excited. I'm excited to have you. Last year, I was trying to get you on here last year, and you kind of gave me the Heisman last year.
Come on, no, that ain't fair. I'm a lineman. Linemen don't win the Heisman. So how can I give you the Heisman? Come on, big dog.
No, I had to pick on you. No, we're excited. I'm excited to have you here. We're excited to have you here again. I know you're going to bring that energy. You're going to share a lot of great stuff with us. So before we get into any of that, tell us first and foremost, how are things?
We're well, man. It's been a great year of a lot of big moves, right? You know, we began 8 years ago with the idea of helping coaches connect the dots between sports and life. Two Words, character development was an idea on January 12th, 2017.
Yeah.
And from meeting with coaches and really having the focus of what can we do to help the next coach, help the next kid. And as we just followed that breadcrumb, we didn't know where we were going, but we knew how we were going to get there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it just.
All right, and we're back. Apologies for that. Had some technical difficulties there. So tell us a little bit more. As you were saying.
Yeah. So 8 years ago, we started Two Words, character development. And the idea that I had was just very simple: to help coaches, help kids, to help coaches take that next step and go beyond the game. We know that inherent into the heart of coaching is to raise up young men and young women.
Absolutely.
Regardless of the game that you use to do that. The classroom of athletics, about more than the game.
Mm-hmm.
And so we wanted to help coaches go beyond the game, knowing how many different hats coaches wear, knowing all the different responsibilities. How can I bring my expertise and a team of experts around coaches across the state of Texas and beyond and help them grow young men and young women? Started as a simple idea. And over the last 8 years, it's continued to grow. But we've always kept that same question: what can we do to help coaches, help kids? And we just finished last week filming season 8. And so we finished the 8th season of curriculum. That's 36 video lessons every year, every season, along with a workbook that's about 2,500 words. And as we started adding it all together, the number of words written, it was something like 720,000 words written across all of our different curriculums. Because as we grew, new needs showed up from coaches. And we had our athletic curriculum. We had a campus-wide curriculum that focused on mental health. And then we had an elementary PE curriculum, and then a coaches developing curriculum, and the sportsmanship. And as it all added up, something like 720,000 words in workbook, along with 48 hours of recorded teaching available to coaches, not just across Texas, but also in 22 states across the country.
Wow.
And we're growing every month and every semester, adding new schools and reaching new coaches and new kids. And the Texas Way has been a big part of that.
Mm-hmm.
But every step of the way, and I say all of that to say, every step of the way, everything that we do is for coaches to help their kids. That's the heart. And wherever life takes me, I'm going to be doing that in one way or another. That's why I'm here today.
Yeah. So tell us briefly, for those who may not know, tell us obviously, and we'll dive into the Texas Way more in a minute, but even it starts, the genesis for you being Two Words, right? Tell us, that's obviously character development. Tell us a little bit more about how that started and what it came to be now.
2 words, character development is a character and leadership development program for high school athletic departments and middle school athletics. And so the idea is that each week we want to take the character trait or leadership trait of the week, and we want to define it or describe it with 2 words. That rather than having a checklist, we talk about respect this week, integrity the next week, composure the next week, and just check boxing particular traits. Right. What we wanted to do was to say, how can we make a trait a theme? How can we give it a vehicle that is memorable, so much so that you could break out with it in the huddle? It could be the theme for the week. It's as applicable on the practice pitch.
There you go. Hey, look at him.
On the pitch.
I like that.
It's as applicable there as it is in chemistry. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we began to do. And I had done that for 7 years as a volunteer. Mm-hmm. 4 years in Blanco, Texas, 3 years in Kaufman. And it was my way to give back to the community. And it was January 12th, 2017 that a friend said, man, I think you can make a living doing that.
Nice.
And I said, man, I give 7-minute talks before football games. You don't make a living doing that. And he said, it's the best piece of advice ever. He said, don't start with no, start with yes.
Yes.
If you knew it would work, what would you do? And I find it fitting that was the advice that drove things forward, because that's what coaches do every day. They don't start with, no, this is what a kid can't do. Mm-hmm. They start with, yes, this is what a kid could become, and I am willing and able to help them get there. Mm-hmm. That's the superpower of a coach. That's why coaches have an outsized role in the development of young men and young women, because they have both the belief and the willingness together to help a kid grow into who they can become. It's one thing to have the belief, to have a desire. I desire to write you a check for $1 million to sponsor your podcast. Right. The problem is I'm not able.
I'm going to take you up on that. But I'm going to take you up on that.
The problem is I can give you the check, but it's going to bounce and it's going to cost us both money.
Right.
There's a willingness, but there's not an ability.
Correct.
And what coaches do is they've got the belief in what a kid can do. They're willing to do something about it, and they're able. They have that skill set. You're professionals. And so that was the advice that started 2 words. And we've just been chasing down coaches and kids ever since.
Awesome.
And it's been really fun.
That's been good. You know, one of the things, this is probably a meeting that's long overdue, because I cannot tell you how long now I've had people come up to me and say, hey, you got to meet Mackey. You guys got to sit down together and talk. You got to have him on the podcast, like for a real full-blown episode, blah, blah, blah. It was all this stuff because, I'm a retired military veteran as well. So coached and trained and taught at the Air Force Academy. Right. Mm-hmm. So to me, character and leadership is everything. Right. And, there's this saying, part of my motto with wherever I go. But I've obviously in the day of hashtags, I've converted into a hashtag. But what we go by with my girls program at San Antonio MacArthur is, we've all heard, and you being a football guy, right? Your background, you've heard of defense. We've heard the saying, defense wins championships. Well, I believe culture wins championships, right? So, and that is our hashtag, culture wins championships. So everything in terms of just from 2 words to the Texas way to have you here is great. I believe it is making a difference. And I know you were sharing some of that with us, and I wanted to give you the opportunity to share a little bit more of, tell us what the data is showing in some of the sports already with the launch of now the Texas way.
Sure. And I'm glad to share that. But before I do, we've got an interesting connection. So out of high school, I played and graduated from the Air Force Academy Prep School.
The P.
Oh, the C squad.
Wow.
C squad.
I was the senior AMT there, the senior military trainer there.
Okay.
At C squad. Yeah, the commandos. Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Man,
yes.
Talk about a small world.
Yeah.
So I was class of 04.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That's interesting. Yeah. I was there, and I was the head women's soccer coach there at the P for about 1.5 years, while I was also the director of soccer operations on the Hill, right? Yeah. Before I got promoted and was up there. So small world, man. Small world.
Wild.
That is crazy.
When you talk about culture wins championships, and we'll often say that culture is just the character of a program or the character of an organization. That's what culture is, right? Character is the truth of who you are. Culture is the truth of who your program is, how your students talk about each other, how they talk about the program, how they talk about the coach when they think coach isn't around. Right. That gives insight into what they really believe, how you act and how you respond in the face of adversity, what you believe about yourself and what can be done, how you work. And go about doing what you do, the standards that you live to, the way you play and who you play for, and the way that you use the influence and the ability that you have as an athlete to give back. All of that put together, right, makes culture, makes character of an organization. And in much the same way, we set out and we had a conversation with the Texas High School Coaches Association, the Athletic Directors Association, and the UIL. And we sat down and said, hey, there is a very real problem in Texas high school athletics. And that problem is sportsmanship. It's showing sportsmanship was showing that the culture of Texas high school athletics was trending in a direction that we didn't want to be true. And so we had to sit down and say, what do we do about that? From 2017 to 2023, player ejections more than doubled to over 3,000 a year across the state of Texas. Coach ejections increased by over 50% in that same time. So, and that doesn't even touch on fan behavior.
I know.
You don't need data to know how bad that is. And so as we looked at it, by every measure, sportsmanship in the state of Texas was out of control. And that's not who we want to be. That's not our culture. That's not our character. And so we said, well, what do we do? And Ray Zepeda's, the athletic director at the UIL, has had just a great leadership in bringing together all these different organizations that lead high school athletics in Texas. The Soccer Coaches Association, the Girls Coaches Association, TASCO, and on and on and on, all the different organizations. And the call was put out to say, hey, we need to have a plan. And I want to know what each of you are going to do to help reverse this problem. Joe Martin at the Texas High School Coaches Association reached out. We do a lot of work together, get to be the character and leadership coach for the Coaches Association. And so he called in and said, hey, we need to have a meeting. Us, the Athletic Directors Association, we want to have a plan together to present to the UIL. So we sat down, and as we're talking, we're just hearing, and you hear this often, right? Things are different in Texas. They're bigger in Texas. They're better in Texas, right? And that's not to put anybody else down. That's just to say, hey, that's who we are, right? And as you travel around the state, and I've even seen this, whether it's stadiums or programming or whatever it is, they say, man, what's the Texas way? How do you do it in Texas? That's what everybody wants to know. So I thought, what if we called our sportsmanship program the Texas way? And we set the example, not just in Texas, but across the athletic landscape, across the country, on how to reverse this trend of bad sportsmanship. So as we set out to create the Texas way, it's a joint initiative between two words, character development, the Coaches Association, and the Athletic Directors Association, with support from TASCO, UIL, Girls Association, Baseball Association, Hispanic Football Coaches Association, golf, and the list goes on. We said, okay, well, what does it mean to play the game the right way? What does it mean to play the Texas way? We said, well, it means that you play with a respect for others, a control of self, and a spirit of competition. We said we need to have a respect for others. And the way we're going to define that in the Texas way is to say that I am going to give respect because of who I am, not because of what you do. Too often, what do we hear? I'll respect you when what?
When you respect me. When you show it first, right?
When you respect me. Well, what's the problem? Is that puts my actions at your control. When you respect me, I respect you. But when you disrespect me, I disrespect you. Tit for tat, and you are in control. Well, we say the Texas way. We want to respect others because of who we are. I show respect because of my character, because of how I value human beings, because how I see the game. My character determines how I act, a respect for others, a control of self. Well, we understand athletics is passionate. It's supposed to be, right? It's supposed to be full of piss and vinegar and just getting after it. It doesn't matter the sport you're playing. You're out there on the golf course, have a little bit of fire in you. That's the way it's supposed to be. But we can't allow ourselves to be controlled by it. Instead, we've got to put boundaries on it. I wrote what I call the anger rights, that you have the right to be angry, but your anger doesn't have the right to have you. You have the right to be angry, but you don't have the right to be disrespectful. And you have the right to get angry, but it's not right to get there quickly. So when we think about the control of self and playing the Texas way, is to say we are going to follow the rules of anger. And if our anger or our frustration gets out of control, then we either have got to check it or we get disqualified. You follow the rules on the road, or you get disqualified by getting a ticket and losing your license. Right. Same idea. And then finally, the spirit of competition. We said, look, we don't want anybody to ever think that the Texas way is not about winning. I mean, we've got big scoreboards and big stadiums for a reason, right? You ain't lying. And we want to win, and we want students to want to win, and we want fans to want to win. But we don't want to win at the cost of our character. How we win is more important than winning itself. Yeah. I'll tell coaches all the time, I would rather lose a game and win a kid than win a game and lose a kid, because the game is going to end for everybody. Every kid, every coach, the game is going to come to an end. But the person that they become through the game continues on. So how we win really matters. These were the three big pillars. This is how we define what it looks like to play the Texas way. This common language is not unique. I'm not the first person to ever say these ideas, but to put them together and then give a common language to the state is a powerful thing. You understand this in your program. Your program has language. You have phrases that you use that punch above their weight class. They're more than just the words. They carry meaning and weight and accountability. We wanted that for the state of Texas and how we play the Texas way. But here's the great thing, is that as we rolled this out, all of a sudden everybody starts saying, well, why would we come up with our own thing when we've got that? Let's all go all in on this. But it wasn't just coaches. It wasn't just districts. The TASCO, Texas Association of Sports Officials, came in and said, we want to create a course for TASCO officials to go through and become Texas Way certified crews. To date, over 2,300 officials in the state of Texas have gone through the Texas Way officials course. And that was just in football season. We had to stop the spring officials from going through, the winter sport officials from going through, couldn't process it fast enough. We're sitting at almost 500 districts, right at 40% of the districts in the state of Texas have enrolled in the Texas Way. And here's the powerful stat, is that through the end of October, we've seen a 34% decrease in the number of football ejections year over year. Think about that. Over a third of ejections fewer this year than this time last year in football. Here's the next powerful stat. Over 90% of ejections in football come from schools who've chosen to not engage in the Texas Way.
Imagine that.
Imagine that.
Imagine that.
Now, what this shows us is that there is great power in having a single direction for us to all walk in. Right. And the hope as we move from fall sports into winter and into spring is that we not only continue the momentum, but that we learn from the previous season. So the lessons we've learned in the fall, we bring to the winter sports. The lessons we learn in fall and winter, we bring to the spring sports. That we don't have a silver bullet, but what we do have is a passionate and committed support from associations like TASCO and the big associations across the state. We've got support from coaches, thousands of them, 5,000 to be exact. We've got support from district leaders, community leaders, and athletes. The coolest story, I had a coach come to me. He said, Mackey, I don't know what is happening, but we were in the middle of a game, and I had one of my studs come to me and go, Coach, you got to take me out of the game. And I go, what are you talking about? Take you out of the game? Like, we're trying to win the game, son. Why you want to get on the bench? He goes, Coach, because if you don't take me out, I ain't going to play the Texas Way.
I haven't heard that one. That's the first.
He goes, well, go get your mind right because I need you on the field.
Yeah. But hey, awareness, though. Awareness, right? Awareness starts with that.
But think about what had to happen for a 17-year-old kid in the middle of a game to get to that point. The investment of a coach, the implementation of a program, the support of state organizations, of a district, the time invested, the intentionality. It's not just click play and then walk away. No, we click play and then we reinforce.
Yeah, but even then, an athlete, An athlete is not going to pick up what we put down if they don't feel that it's important to us, the coaches, right? So, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, and you mentioned that you talked about how the transition, right, from fall sports now we start moving into winter. You're here for obviously the 2024 TASCO convention. We start talking about soccer now, right? Soccer has been on a lot of radars for a number of reasons. Obviously, the ejections, the red cards, it's not straight black and white. I have to be honest with that. There's more to it than just that. It's the equivalent of in basketball, you foul out, you get 5 fouls. You're not ejected, you're just fouled out, right?
Right.
And you get 2 yellows in a soccer match, and yeah, if it's deemed in a report as an ejection, kind of a little different, kind of apples and oranges, right? So, but I know we're talking about more than just that. But now as it relates to soccer and here, tell us a little bit about what your thoughts on soccer, and then your thoughts on what you're here to share with us today here at the convention.
So, what we want to accomplish from the Texas Way perspective is we want to bring soccer coaches fully into the fold, and we want the support of TASCO. Chris Besner has been great at saying, hey, our association is going to not only endorse the Texas Way, we're going to make sure our members are doing the Texas Way, playing, coaching, supporting the Texas Way.
Yeah.
And we're here to kick that off and to let membership know and soccer coaches know, hey, you are not alone in this battle, right? They'll be here from TASO, a representative doing a classroom session, and it's going to be an opportunity. Even just the conversations that I've had walking around with you, Besner, and other coaches is so encouraging and enlightening to go, okay, hey, I note, can we go to the UIL as we're looking at our reporting? Let's make sure that we are distinguishing these properly. Like you said, it's not black and white. This allows me to advocate better for the sport of soccer at the UIL across the state.
Correct.
And so that's a huge encouragement and a huge help for me. But we're going to lay out the 3 pillars today. We're going to talk about the effectiveness of the program in football. But more importantly, it's going to be a call and a challenge for coaches here to see that it wasn't just a program. It wasn't just language. It was real coaches taking real time to invest in real kids to become real young men and women, not just athletes.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be the challenge to lean in to do that. But here's the powerful part, and you know this, it's in the hashtag, culture wins championships. We say better people make better teammates make better teams win more games, right? What happens when we do this, your players are going to play better. They're not going to get ejected. They're going to be in the game longer.
Right.
It's tough to win when your best player is not playing.
Right.
And if you take time to do the Texas Way, what I also know about you is that this is not going to be the first time you're doing character development. It's not the first time you're doing leadership development. It's not the first time you're doing culture building, right? If you're going to do the Texas Way, you're going to realize culture wins championships. And so this is going to be another tool in your tool belt.
Yeah.
And if you haven't taken that step, my hope is that you look around and go, man, I've gone to all the clinics. I've tried all the drills. I've gotten great players, and it just doesn't work. I keep losing. And the hope is the challenge to go, okay, well, maybe there is something missing, something beyond talent, and it's character. Character amplifies talent.
Absolutely.
So now let's go that way.
Yeah, and it brings me to 2 things. One, a quick motto. You talked about language, right? And I'll share briefly. Normally, I don't peel the curtains this far back in terms of my own program, but 2 things. One that I took from my old, because when you get me, you get all of my background, including my military background. That's what I tell my girls. That's what I tell our parents at MacArthur. But I share with them that, one of my old unit models, and you've probably seen this before, is like, be strong when you're scared, or what is it? I'm sorry. Be brave when you're scared, be strong when you're weak, be humble in victory. That's a big one. Be humble in victory. And then of course, my last one, the favorite one, be badass every day. Right. So, and then the other one that we talk about, and I got to share this mainly because it's you that we have here, is the other motto sprinkled in our program. My program, girls soccer program, is the 5 R's is what we call it. So, it's the right place, right time, right uniform, right attitude, ready to do the right thing every day. And to me, the culture and the character piece it's rooted in consistency. is day in and day out. And as coaches, it's only going to be as good as what we tolerate, what we accept, right? So to be able to do that day in and day out as coaches, even when we don't want to, even when we don't feel like it, right? Just like the players, right? Even when they don't feel like it, when they're not up to it, that's when they got to show up the most. That's when culture wins, I believe.
Sure. And it's hard because you either coach it or you tolerate it.
Right.
And that's a cold shower truth.
Mm-hmm.
Either you're teaching your kids to be this way or you're allowing them to be this way.
Right. Yeah.
That one cuts.
I know.
That one cuts.
Yeah.
But when we are willing to accept that truth and to accept the challenge, what happens is we start working the way that we want our athletes to work. And what happens? They start working that way too.
Right. Absolutely.
As a leader, those that you lead can't go further than you go. You're the leader. They can't go past you. You stop growing. You stop pushing. They stop.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. We are talking with Stephen Mackey, the founder of Two Words Character Development, as well as the Texas Way. We start wrapping up here, sir. Couple of things, couple of thoughts, more so that I wanted to get from you in regards to soccer. Is there going into the soccer season, has there been any sort of measurable goal, some sort of data that could be measured going into the season that you all would like to see the Texas Way, the people at UIL? Has that been discussed at all as to, hey, how do we measure this to see that it's been kind of like the data you provided with football, right? Mm-hmm. Is there an actual objective goal going into the season?
Right. So, the goals of the Texas Way broadly are to increase the quality of sportsmanship across sports, so specifically soccer, to decrease the number of ejections across the sport, across the state, and then to strengthen communities and the relationships between coaches, players, fans, and officials. So that's what we're broadly aiming to do. As we get into really the specifics, what it ultimately looks like, the main measurable is ejections. And so we're tracking a couple things to that end. We get reporting from the UIL on that week's couple weeks at a time of the ejections that happen during a time period. And what we do with support from Clell Wade and Coaches Directory is we are able to connect the head coach that had that ejection to the user database of the Texas Way. And so we'll find out either you haven't signed up for the Texas Way, you've signed up and not engaged, you are disengaged, meaning you have watched a few minutes, but not enough to be statistically a majority of the content, or you are engaged. And so we take the ejection reports and we put every coach in one of those four categories of not signed up, disengaged, or signed up, not engaged, disengaged, or engaged. And using that, we're able to see and kind of categorize where ejections coming from, coaches that are engaged in the program or not. And then over the course of the season, at the end of the season, we'll be able to look back and measure the efficacy of the program. And so we're going to be able to see, hey, this is what happened when you engage with the program. This was your ejection percentage. Because there's always going to be some days where just 17-year-old kid does what 17-year-old kid does. Right. Maybe a bad call gets happened or whatever. Things are going to happen, but you'll be able to see this is where we're at. And so those are going to be the big numbers that we look at. We'll track through the process, just where ejections are year over year. Are we up or are we down? And then at the end of the season, we'll look back and see the efficacy of the program. But by all indications, what we see is that coaches who care enough to invest in intentionally coaching their kids in sportsmanship have fewer ejections than coaches that don't.
Yeah, absolutely. And in success, as you know, right, it's not a vertical line, right? It is messy. Because why? Because you're dealing with people, right? People, and we come with attitudes, backgrounds, different experiences, without a doubt. So again, we are talking with Stephen Mackey, founder of Two Words Character Development, as well as the Texas Way from Blanco, Texas. Hey, you're right up the road from me. I'm in Bulverde.
Okay,
so
nice.
I'm in Bulverde. So
you got all the connections.
Yeah.
I just bought a grill from Bulverde.
Did you go? Where?
Right there. It's called, oh man, I should know this. I'll give him a shout out. Oh man, barbecue more. It's right next to Smoky Mo's.
Off 46 there.
Yeah,
off 46. Yeah. So
Jared,
Spring Branch area. Yeah.
Jared's the guy that runs it. And man, I spent more time studying, deciding what grill to buy than I did to when I bought a house than I did when I quit my job and started 2 words.
That sounds about right. That sounds about
It's the big decisions.
Sounds like me. Sounds like me. Awesome. Well, sir, this has been great. I've loved having you. Love what you're about. Excited. There's a lot of people that are excited that you are here today. A lot of soccer coaches that are excited to hear from you. And before we go, want to give you an opportunity. We call this stoppage time. So first and foremost, got to make sure sometime when we can get you on, we can connect and get you on for a full-blown episode, right? Would love to have you on. But also, before we let you go, we have something what's called stoppage time. So there's an opportunity for anything that's on your mind as it relates to, it could be anything regarding the Texas way, 2 words, character development, anything. It could be the game, right? Soccer, whatever. Anything that's on your mind, the floor is yours.
Oh, awesome. Well, I'll tell you the thing that has been very important in my personal development really this year has been the idea of taking care of yourself and the idea that you can't give what you don't have. And for our coaches listening, your profession is a profession of giving. You wake up early. You're the first people at the school. You're the last ones to leave. It's not a 9-to-5 job. It's 7 days a week, 365. You never take the title of coach off. Your
Correct.
phone is always available. You're investing in your kids and your program and your families and your classroom and on and on and on. You're in a profession of giving. And the encouragement is that we need you in this profession for the long haul. Coaches, we need you in the game. Kids need you now more than ever. And so you've got to take care of yourself. Take care of your spiritual life. Connect with your spouse. Don't let your spouse be third string attention. Now, they may not always get the quantity that they want, but make the quality time with your spouse. Connect with your family, whether that's mom, dad, aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa, your kids. Every day, take care of your spiritual life. Connect with your spouse, connect with your family. Every day, handle your responsibilities and know that you don't have to do everything that could get done today.
Awesome.
But instead, handle what you're responsible for today and do tomorrow's work tomorrow, today's work today. Take care of your body. Your body is a machine. You don't have to be like you were at 25, but you can't treat it like and eat like you're 16. You can't put junk in and not expect junk results out. Take care of your body, serve somebody, and do something just for you. Find a small thing that allows you to step back and go, hey, it's okay to take care of me before I go take care of someone else. Smallest example in the world. For me, every morning I make a Chemex coffee. I don't just get the quick Keurig, boom, coffee, caffeine, and go. I take the 5 minutes from bean to cup. And I've got a whole process, and it's the sound, it's the smell, it's the taste. Yeah. And it's just 5 minutes to go, hey, there's a faster way to do this, but I'm worth slowing down for 5 minutes, reflecting on where I'm going for the day, pausing in and going, this cup's just for me. Every day, do those 7 things, and you're going to continually fill yourself up, and you'll be able to give more. You can't give what you don't have, but when you take care of yourself, you'll be able to be in the game for the long haul.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you. Again, he is Stephen Mackey, founder, 2 words, character development, and the Texas way. We got to get you out of here. You got a presentation shortly, right? We got room full of people waiting on you, so don't miss it. If you are here and you're listening to this live, the convention, get in there at 6 p.m. Stephen Mackey will be presenting. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for everything. Thank you for everything you're doing for the state of Texas as well. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back shortly from beautiful Moody Gardens here in Galveston, Texas, with more coverage of the 2024 Texas High School Soccer Coaches Convention, sponsored by TASCO.